Tonight, a leak from unnamed sources disrupts an SIU investigation.
Family and council have very strong concerns as to how is information like that making its way into the media.
The family of a woman who died after falling from her balcony fear the leaked details could sway public opinion. Plus,
I said finally.
Just in time for summer, food and ice cream trucks get the green light to open in Toronto. And we tag along with an organization helping seniors in Toronto neighborhoods hit hard by COVID-19, delivering food and some much-needed company. Good evening, I'm Mike Wise. The SIU is calling on Toronto police to stop spilling secrets. The police watchdog wants immediate steps taken after the family of Regis Korchinski-Capet, the woman who fell from an apartment balcony last week, backed out of a scheduled interview. Lisa Shing explains why.
It's quiet outside the apartment where Regis Korchinski-Capet lived with her family today. This was the scene a week ago after she fell 24 stories from the balcony to her death.
They're feeling distraught, they're feeling upset, they're still trying to find out how could this happen to their daughter.
The Toronto Sun published several details today of what sources say happened between police and Korchinski-Capet inside the apartment before her death. That isn't going over well.
The family and council have very strong concerns as to how is information like that making its way into the media and how that is disrespectful to the family, to the memory of Regis, and to the process of the investigation.
Her family was slated to talk to the province's police watchdog as part of its investigation, but that conversation has since been put on hold.
It doesn't allow it to play out without swaying public opinion.
Questions have been swirling around what led to Korchinski-Capet's fall. Police say they got a call that night from the family. Their lawyer says officers met the 29-year-old, her brother and mother in the hallway. She told police she had to use the bathroom in the unit, where several officers followed her, but didn't let family members in with her.
A call for service shouldn't end up as a call for death.
Korchinski-Capet's relatives believe race played a role in the death, as do many in the community who turned out for a march over the weekend to demand answers. The SIU released a statement today saying it's imperative the public have confidence in their investigation. The SIU director has asked the Toronto Police Service that it takes immediate steps to prevent further releases of information about what occurred inside the apartment. The Toronto Police Service isn't commenting on this latest development, although its professional standards unit is looking into whether any of its members were involved in releasing details, and if so, what next steps should be taken. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Toronto.
As you saw on the National, there are new charges being laid against the 4 officers involved in the death of George Floyd. Now, that includes upgraded second-degree murder charges for the officer who pressed his knee into Floyd's neck. Now, here in the GTA, many are recalling a similar case where an officer knelt on the neck of a black man. It happened more than a year ago and was caught on video. As Lorenda Redekop tells us, this is not the first time neck restraints have been an issue.
Why do you have your knee on his neck? Get the off of him.
This is the video. We first aired it a year ago. Given the case in Minneapolis, it's resurfaced.
To see that young boy with his body to the ground, helpless, his peers trying to help him, this is everyday life for people in this neighborhood.
Durham Regional Police released a statement given calls about this video, saying it was from May 2019, when officers responded to a call about a distraught male possibly armed with a knife. They say he was apprehended and not physically injured. The OIPRD investigated and found the officers followed proper protocol.
I am surprised that OIPRD, according to Durham Police, cleared this, said it followed protocol.
This police accountability lawyer who's seen the video but isn't familiar with this case is surprised.
You want to talk about playing with fire? You apply force to the back of the neck through the weight applied through your knee, and you are simply lucky. You've won the lottery if there isn't a serious death or injury.
A report from 3 years ago by Ontario's Independent Police Review Director on police use of force mentions recommendations from a coroner's inquest back in 2008. One of them, to reinforce through regular and refresher training the risk of death associated with the use of neck restraint techniques. Lawyer Julian Faulkner would like the investigation report released, along with the names of the investigators. For Black community members, it brings up a lot of fears of possible interactions with authorities.
I started this when my little guy was small. He's 24. And I'm more afraid of him, afraid for him more now than when I started this work.
Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
We now know when the trial will begin for the man accused of using a van to kill 10 people along a Yonge Street sidewalk. Alec Minassian faces 10 counts of first-degree murder and 16 counts of attempted murder. A justice today set November 9th as the date for his trial to begin. It'll take place in front of a judge without a jury. The trial was supposed to start in April, but was postponed because of the pandemic. Minassian told police just hours after the attack that he wanted revenge against society for years of sexual rejection by women. And a teenager is facing charges tonight after a senior was stabbed in Oakville. Police say the victim is a 79-year-old woman. She was attacked at a home near 8th Line and Highway 403 around 8 this morning. The woman was taken to hospital with what are believed to be stab wounds. Investigators say she is expected to survive. The suspect fled the scene but was arrested a short time later on a bus in Peel region. A 15-year-old male is now facing charges. Police say the victim and suspect knew each other. And if you live in Brampton and take the bus, you'll soon have to put on a mask.
But this is about ensuring the safety of other passengers. It's about ensuring the safety of our Brampton transit system.
The mandatory mask policy will come into effect on July 2nd. Brampton's mayor says riders can wear a non-medical mask or scarf. He's also asking transit users to maintain physical distance and to carry hand sanitizer. And with summer-like temperatures returning to our city comes the return of a summertime favorite. Ice cream trucks and food trucks in general are now being allowed once again on Toronto streets. As Natalie Nanowski tells us, truck owners are hoping for some relaxed rules to help make up for the months they've lost due to the pandemic.
Most food trucks hit the streets starting in April. So for many vendors, today's announcement is 2 months overdue.
I said finally.
Michael Mavrogiannis has an ice cream truck, and since he operates it alone, he didn't know why the city couldn't give him a straight answer about whether he could open during the pandemic.
The restaurants are doing deliveries and pickups and Uber Eats. I mean, we pull up to the curb and we're the same thing. People would walk up to the window, get their ice cream cone or their food and just go.
But clarification came today.
All licensed street food vending, food trucks and ice cream trucks in the City of Toronto are permitted to operate as of today. This change comes just in time for the summer vending season.
That's great news for Ada Mock, who runs a dumpling truck. She's pivoted to delivering frozen meals to her clients and will need a few days to figure out if hitting the streets is worth it.
About 15% of our sales is curbside sales. The rest is catering and events. Events is basically 75%, which is a pity because that's still not going to happen this year.
So she doesn't know if paying about $5,000 for 6 months of permits and licenses is a good idea when a third of the season is gone. She's asking the city for some flexibility.
Maybe like go month by month or just give us a discount for the 2 months we've missed.
The other hope? For Toronto to relax parking rules. She wants to go where the people are since her usual Bay Street office crowd is non-existent.
I think Ottawa is letting food trucks pull up to parks, which would be a great change for Toronto, especially with them encouraging people to go outside and get active.
No clarification on those rules just yet, but she's hoping to work with the city, and so are restaurant owners. They're expected to get word in the coming days about whether they'll be able to open up their patios. Natalie Nanowski, CBC News, Toronto.
The Ontario government is rejecting calls to make public the list of long-term care homes most affected by COVID-19. The Premier says it is so that inspections will still be a surprise. Our Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley has that story.
Once the deaths begin mounting in long-term care homes, it becomes clear which ones are the worst hit by COVID-19. Until then, Other than reports of outbreaks, the public doesn't really know what's happening inside, but the government does. The province classes the most vulnerable long-term care homes as red and flags others of concern as yellow. For weeks, people with loved ones in long-term care homes have asked that the color-coded list be made public. The government has refused. The justification has been because the status of homes shifts quickly.
Hold your heart.
Whether it's yellow to red or red to yellow, there is a dynamic nature to this list. It would not be fair to homes if we were to put out a list that was erroneous in terms of the immediate change that occurs in these homes.
Today, a new rationale for keeping the list secret, so that inspections are a surprise.
We're doing surprise visits to all the long-term care homes. And, this gives us an opportunity, no matter if it's yellow or red, because those are our priorities, to go in there.
Quebec classes long-term care homes affected by COVID-19 as red, orange, or yellow. That province has made its list public since mid-April. Not so for Ontario.
It is really important that we be able to do those sort of surprise audits or inspections to make sure that we can understand what the state of affairs actually is in a long-term care home whenever we do go in.
I just think that's balderdash. I mean, there's just no way that holds any water. Those homes know darn well that they're in the red category. They know darn well that they're in the yellow category. And unfortunately, the only people who don't know are the people who have loved ones that are living in long-term care, and that's just not right.
As of today, there are still COVID-19 outbreaks at 94 long-term care homes in Ontario. Nearly 1,700 residents have died. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, the company that manages some of the hardest hit long-term care homes in the province has announced a series of steps it is taking to better protect residents. It comes after that scathing report by the Canadian Armed Forces that detailed disturbing conditions in some homes, including Altamont Care Community in Scarborough. That's where 53 residents died. Sienna Senior Living, which owns Altamont, says it is taking several steps to better improve the level of care in its homes, including an immediate investigation into company policies, practices, and culture, frontline re-education to ensure staff provide the best quality of care, and increased communication with residents and their families.
We are surprised to see things coming back this quickly, and it just shows the resilience of the Toronto real estate market.
Well, coming up next, how Toronto's red-hot housing market is making a big comeback during COVID-19, and who is buying homes in a pandemic. Plus,
looking ahead to Thursday, just a beautiful day on tap, although getting a little bit warmer. I'm meteorologist Colette Kennedy. It's the weekend where things start to cool down a bit and some active weather in between. I'll tell you all about it coming up after the break.
The man behind Tiny Tom Donuts, a staple at the CNE in Canada's Wonderland, has died.
3 samples, hot, fresh Tiny Tom Donuts.
There's nothing better than a hot, fresh donut. They melt in your mouth.
They certainly do. Tom Brazier was 73, and he was set to celebrate his 60th anniversary at the CNE this summer. It's been canceled this year due to the pandemic. Good news is that whenever the CNE and Wonderland returns, the Tiny Donuts should still be there. His family says it will carry on Tom's legacy and looks forward to serving his famous Tiny Donuts again soon. Well, this is some of the damage left in the wake of 2 separate thunderstorms last night, packing rain, hail, and high winds that downed trees and caused power outages in some areas of Peel region. Luckily, though, no one was hurt. Time to take a look at the forecast now with meteorologist Colette Kennedy. We've got a great Thursday on tap, Colette.
Yeah, things looking really good for us, Mike, as we go into Thursday. The temperature's coming up a little bit. Yes, the humidity coming up a little bit as well. So you got to watch those humidex values, but it looks pretty nice. So quiet night overnight tonight for us, not like last night. And nice looking Thursday, as I say, just a bit warmer. We're going to see some changes into the weekend in terms of that humidity coming back down a little bit and the temperatures coming back down a little bit too. But the weekend still looks nice. In between Friday, we're probably going to see a little bit of wet weather here and there. I'll take you through that too coming up. I want to show you the daytime highs. We've been seeing a lot of contrast across the province from the southwest to the east, and you see them again today. A 10-degree temperature difference between Windsor and for the nation's capital, and then in between we're right around 27 degrees. Oshawa for Toronto and Hamilton, St. Catharines 26. It was much cooler though towards the lakeshore, especially those northwesterly winds at times were a little bit gusty there too. But as I said, tonight we are going to have some fairly tranquil conditions. A little bit of activity that's pushing to the south of Lake Erie though, so shouldn't be tagging into southwestern Ontario. Thursday, mostly sunny skies to start off with. We may begin to see a little more cloud cover building into the afternoon hours, but even tomorrow evening things are looking pretty good. So that's why I'm saying it's probably one of the nicest days of the week that we're going to be seeing. Now Friday, it starts off very nicely for pretty much everyone, but by the early afternoon you can see into cottage country we're starting to see some showers and indeed possibly some thunderstorms beginning to bubble up, and then that's going to fill in a little bit more as we go into the late afternoon hours. So I do have a chance of seeing some activity coming in late afternoon, evening, Friday, and then there's a bit of residual stuff that potential into Saturday, but primarily the weekend does look good, okay? Overnight tonight, there you go, southwestern Ontario, 16 degrees, a hot one tomorrow. Certainly we're looking at 31 and a humidex value, yeah, above 35, and at times maybe even approaching 40. The temperatures overnight, pretty nice for sleeping weather, still above seasonal though with those clearer conditions. And then our highs popping up, St. Catharines 29. We could see a few other 29s kind of showing up on the thermometer too here, but this is what I'm going with, some increase in cloud later in the day. And then Friday, 29 with that chance for showers. I said it gets a little bit cooler. It feels more comfortable because the dew points drop, so the humidity comes down, but it does get a little cooler as we go through the weekend. And then the beginning of next week looking pretty quiet and pretty good too, Mike.
Overall, a great looking forecast. Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
The weather is brought to you by Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. We test, so it runs. Take advantage of special offers now. It's hard to stop a Trane.
After a dismal April due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Toronto's real estate market saw a bit of a resurgence in May. A new report suggests that homes are not only selling, they're still commanding top dollar. Greg Ross has more.
The real estate market isn't exactly breaking records, but it definitely has new life.
The hope is back. The deals are being done so you can breathe a little bit.
Real estate agent Andrea Feldman says after the market came to a near standstill in April, homes in Toronto are starting to move again.
I think we thought it would be a longer road. So I do think that we are surprised to see things coming back this quickly, and it just shows the resilience of the Toronto real estate market.
According to the Toronto Real Estate Board, the total number of sales more than doubled from April to May. And while they're still down considerably compared to last year's sales numbers, they're growing by the day.
I think there was a certain percentage of people who had disposable income, weren't really concerned about whether they'd lose their job or not, and were looking for deals, absolutely.
Real estate broker Joe Machado says deal hunters may have been hoping to take advantage of a down market, but there was enough demand to keep prices up.
The buyers are back out, and sellers are getting their asking price, in some cases more.
In fact, the Toronto Real Estate Board says the average selling price for all home types combined in May was actually up 3% over last year. Machado says there may be other factors drawing people into this market, like lower interest rates.
Typically, a bank will secure the rate for 60 days, in some cases 90. And so, yeah, they lock in the rate, which is the smart thing to do. And effectively, you've got 30 to 60 days to look for a property.
Feldman says the pandemic may have also pushed the market back a couple of months, meaning people who were looking to buy before it started, when the market was still hot, have now returned.
So I think all we're going to see is a prolonged or spring market. So I think we'll have a busier summer than we normally see as well.
She also says it's not just the demand that's on the rise. The supply is also starting to go up as well, with many people being forced to sell because of lost income related to the pandemic. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
When we come back, a day in the life of helping Toronto seniors in some of the city's neighborhoods hit hard by COVID-19.
Hey Maria, how are you? It's so good to see you.
I'm happy that somebody cared for me.
We'll have that story for you coming up after the break. senior citizens are the most at risk of dying from COVID-19. Now, that's already creating challenges for organizations who work with them. But add in the extra work trying to reach those living in North Etobicoke. That's one of the hardest hit areas of our city. Our Chris Glover spent the day with one agency running flat out, trying to help seniors through the pandemic.
This is a visit Maria Soda looks forward to, not just for the donated meals, but it's the human interaction she's hungry for.
I'm happy that somebody cared for me.
We're gonna make 2 trips.
Shayna Piltz is the 30-year-old social worker making today's drop.
Be well, Angela. I'm happy to have that connection with them. You know, I'm happy to see them, see that they're still well and thriving even in these conditions. And I'm able to assist in that. So it does put a smile on my face. I am smiling behind the mask.
Since the 1970s, LumaCare, the organization she works with, has helped seniors in North York and North Etobicoke. Statistically, these northern neighborhoods have the highest rate of COVID-19 infections in Toronto. At the charity's headquarters, health screenings are mandatory and some rooms sit idle.
So there's still a lot happening. There's a lot of people here, there's a lot of work going on, but it's a different kind of activity. What are you guys doing right now to serve the community?
Right now, we have completely rearranged our programs. We have put so much time and development into this response center.
Exercise classes have gone virtual, and language lessons are online too. Meals remain their focus, now more so, once delivering 1,700 meals monthly.
Yep, that goes right in.
With the pandemic, it's up to more than 3,300 meals a month.
We are like a big family. We should stick together, especially on a time like this.
Despite the lonely and dangerous times, Maria Soda shares a sense of responsibility to keep others safe.
The mask. I don't like it, but I have to wear it. It's not just for me. It's for all of you. Because I'm a person to think not just for me.
Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, that's our newscast for tonight. Thanks for watching. Dwight Drummond has your next local newscast tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Good night.